We're back. Take two. I got a call on my phone, which means that you now had to scoot over. Tano, hop back on, brother. Oh, I guess that's my job to do that for you. Hold on. Tano. Take two, buddy.
What up?
What up? Okay, so you were saying that in this second section where I'm like, wait, is that a B or is that a hook? What is that? What would you say? What would you say you would view that as?
I would say it's the B again. It's just there's more layers added to the B second time around. It has the same ooze, same instrumentation. I just add another vocal part layered on top that I think was making you confuse it for the hook.
Does it have I Just Want to Live My Dream?
Yes, it has those lyrics, but a different melody than the hook.
Fair enough. So I would argue that you're probably right. If you had the same lyric but a different melody, then it's probably not the hook. It's not I guess it's basically it's a B section.
Yeah.
You're doing like lots of building up before you hit the final hook again.
Right, exactly.
Got it. So again, we've got this instrumental in the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You've got an intro for 4 bars. It's instrumental only. You've got a verse that's 4 bars and 4 bars. You've got a B section where the first part of the B section is actually just the oohs and ahs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go into lately and then feels like, and you build that up into a hook where you're saying, I just want to live my dream. You do that. You have an out. You have 4 bars of basically silence, right?
1 bar.
That's what I meant. Sorry, 1 bar, 4 beats. Thank you. And then you have a second verse that pretty much behaves the same as the first verse.
Yeah, slightly different instrumentation, but
very different instrumentation. But as far as like bird's eye view arrangement, for sure.
Totally.
And then you've got basically a B section that you build. Instead of 3 cycles of 4, you've got 4 cycles of 4 that you build it. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it just kind of builds in 4 layers instead of the first time it builds in 3 layers.
Right.
So that's a variation, but it's kind of familiar enough for the listener. Then you got a hook. You do a little thing where you go out 1 and you come in on the 1, the second final cycle of the hook.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hit a sample on the 1 and you're out.
Yep.
Super tight, right? Like super tight arrangement. Maybe we can go back and add some stuff too. Like, so of course these are G minor and C. I'm gonna try this. Nah, it doesn't work as well. Sorry, guys. So here we are. You can't really see that. So we're here. So notice how the beat comes out here. And then he adds that clave. And there's a little bit of an out here on the last 2 beats. It sets it up nicely. First hook is pretty straightforward. Can you guys see that okay, Tano?
Yeah.
All right. So the beat is almost out. You've got some little snaps and shit. Comes in on the one here again. It's almost like a reggae feel. So yeah, I'm just trying to.
Yeah, exactly. It still has the ooze, but then on top of that, it has the. I'm just.
You added the. I'm just trying to. Pretty similar to the first cycle. This time, these two are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Then you got the lately again. There.
And with the ad-lib vocal on top. Yeah.
Yep, ad-libs. Nice falsetto, bro. Jesus, that sounds awesome. A little out there on the 4. Maybe a 3 and 4. Final hook. Bam. He goes back in on the 1, so as a cutout. And then a sample on the 1. Love it. Awesome. So, anything that you kind of want to talk about as far as what we just looked at, or to comment on at all?
Yeah, I guess another thing, I mean, you kind of indicated it by drawing that line there, but you're sort of lumping the ooh section and then the lately as all the B section.
Yep.
To me, those are kind of 2 different sections, because there's the verse and then there's this little ooh interlude part. And then, right. And then the part with the lyrics, first time lately, second time feels.
Yep.
Is kind of like the setting up the hook, you know?
Okay. So to me, you see this as different sections.
Right. To me, it would be like maybe the lately part is like the legit B section, and then the ooh part is more like an interlude between A and B.
Okay.
I mean, you know, semantics, but that's just sort of how I was thinking of it.
Totally. I mean, yeah. I mean, again, it's like you said, it's semantics, and it's sort of looking at what the role of these different things play in the song.
Yeah.
Because I guess I'm trying to think of my own rationale, but for me, I do see those both as sort of playing the role of B sections, or one large B section, because the basic, it'd be different. Like if this was a post, if this was coming in maybe after the hook and was supposed to say something that's quite a bit different and sort of complements the hook and says something that sort of adds something almost as interesting as the hook. But because it's sequenced like this, and also because of the way you did it the first time around, to me, this feels like one big B section. It just has sort of almost like an intro to the B section, but it still, to me, feels like a B section.
Right, I see. Yeah.
The other thing about it that I would say is, because it's basically verse, B section, and hook, more or less both times, as far as like just a big sequence for it. Even the way you've structured the melody is a great verse melody. And then the B section is, you know, and then hook.
Yeah.
Like that to me is a classic verse to B to hook sequence.
Totally.
It's beautifully done. It's artfully done.
Thank you.
And right. So all of those things lead me to think of that part between the verse and the hook as a B section that really nicely leads up to the hook.
Right. Totally. Yeah.
And again, all of these things, I mean, there's not enough room in this ridiculous outline that I've made to add all of these little things that that Tano's doing to make every moment of this song slightly more interesting and listenable than the moment before. But if you guys go back and listen to how this is structured, there's really some interesting stuff in here, right? That I think could work. So, is there anything about the arrangement that, as you were talking about before, like, is that you're especially proud of, or anything that you're kind of like, I'm not really sure that this turned out exactly the way that I anticipated?
Well, again, one thing is, so that little section in question, that, as you called it, go to the B section.
Yep.
That's half as long the first time.
It's actually not. It's 3 sections the first time and 4 sections the next time.
Well, right. I just mean if we're cutting up that.
Oh, if you look at this as itself, sure. You're right. You're right. Thank you.
First time around,
this section.
Right. Happens.
That makes sense.
Once. Second time it happens twice, making 3 the first time for the total.
Thank you.
So that was actually originally when I wrote the song, it was the same both times.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually Aya's suggestion to cut it in half the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that was contributing to part of the issue I was having with the song of it being a little bit monotonous.
Mm-hmm.
Having those oohs go for 4 whole cycles instead of 2.
Yep.
Was a little bit too much. So I think that really helped. And then the second time round, I added the I'm just trying to sort of thing.
Yep.
I added that.
Oh, you're talking about here. This I'm just trying to, the second intro to the B section that you call, right?
Right. I added that again in an attempt to make that section less monotonous and more interesting.
Got it. So let me extrapolate the theory behind probably what Aya and you had sort of come to, is that originally the song probably went, introduction to B, B section, and then in the second cycle, introduction to B, B section. That's what it was originally back in the day. And then Aya said, "Yo, why don't you switch things up and make, like, the second time you do that introduction thing a little different and just like do it twice instead of one time?"
Yeah.
For variation, but it's still essentially the same sequence and the same process and the same lift.
Totally. Yeah.
Love it.
The variety makes it a little bit more interesting.
Yeah. Anything else?
I mean, nothing else, I guess, regarding the arrangement. I mean, maybe this comes more down to production, but to me, what makes an arrangement more interesting is nothing being the same, nothing just being copy and pasted.
Yep.
So that, because I have a fairly simple arrangement, it's basically, verse, or basically like A, B, essentially,
Yep.
The way to make that interesting is to change the instrumentation, change the vocal production, change the rhythm every time a section repeats. So you're not just hearing a copy and pasted,
Yep.
So that's definitely something I tried to do a lot in this song and this arrangement, is to differentiate repeated sections.
Makes sense. I would add something to that also, for what it's worth, which is that variation is definitely, and tension and creating things that are sort of like slightly unexpected, balanced with something that's sort of expected, but it's a twist, and keeping attention and balancing between new and something familiar.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all the stuff that you and I are kind of like circling around when you're looking at, like, how do we make this not copy paste?
Yeah.
The other thing, obviously, and I say obviously because you're doing it so well with the melody, as well as a lot of other things, is that it should lead forward.
Right.
Which is different than it just being not the same. It should move forward in some way where every section naturally almost spills into the next section, and the stakes become higher somehow.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't always have to grow, but every moment should be like, yeah, but I have to hear the next thing to find out. There has to be something dramatic about continuing to listen.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, right. So for example, when you go up in the scale, da 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 to na 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 to I just want to my it
Yeah.
it lifts, right, and everyone can hear that just by virtue of the melody going up very nicely, and I think that's something that makes this thing snap together really nice. One thing I would look at as just a variation on all those things you mentioned, and this sort of notorious little "is it a B section or not" part. Um, I think that what you've done here with the verse, and what you've done with the hook, and what you've done with the B is so um, I should say, let's try. To you, the B is like this. This going into this is so good that I'm not entirely sure you need this, at least not the first time.
Mm.
I feel like this lifts really nicely. This statement. Here's another thing that you do that's really cool. That might be worth mentioning. And Tori, I had mentioned to sort of get you on here so that you could talk in my ear and be like, "Yo, like, give me a sense of," because unfortunately I can't hear what you guys are messaging.
I can read them if you want.
Thank you. So if there's like something that's super useful for us to sort of tie into this, again, this is a first trial. This is a very messy way of doing this, but I really wanted to try this because with someone that's a really good producer and songwriter and is right in the pocket of what a lot of guys here could and girls could learn from, I was excited to try this out, even if it's version 1.0.
For,
When you look at the rhythm of your melody, da 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 da
mm-hmm.
da 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 da, that's what would you call that rhythmically in a word?
What would I call it in one word?
Yeah, describe it rhythmically in one word. Ba 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 ba.
Punchy?
It's syncopated.
Okay. Oh, okay. I see what you're getting at.
It's emphasizing the off beats. Da, da,
Yeah,
da,
yeah,
da, 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 da. It's also eighth notes. Ba 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 ba.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's one texture. It's a rhythmic texture that's happening in the verse. When you come into the B section, it's all on the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, much less.
Dun, 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 ba, ba, da, da. Very different. You flipped
Yeah.
it. And so the ear likes that. It goes, oh, this is different. And yet it fits. One leads to the other. Ba, 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 ba. It's different. And
Right.
then when you come into the hook, da, 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 a lot of space.
Mm-hmm.
3, 10, ba, da, 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 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. It's mostly air.
Yeah, yeah.
So every section is so nicely different and complementary to the one before it, and so nasty the way you've done that, that I can sort of understand why you want a little bit of a breath here to let people sort of like catch their breath before you go from verse straight into the B, straight into the hook.
Mm-hmm.
But I also wonder if, again, here's another reason I say that. In pop songwriting, just as a commercial sort of convention, not that anyone has to do anything that people think works or whatever, but as a convention, when should the hook come in a song?
I would say within the first, no later than a minute ish. Or
Okay. Do you know when your hook comes in?
I think just after a minute.
A minute 12.
Yeah.
So the spirit of what you're saying is to be less surgical about it as soon as fucking possible. You want
Right.
to hear the hook as soon as possible.
Yeah, yeah.
45 seconds, great. And I'm not saying that people that write pop songs have to do this kind of stuff, but we know from experience that the human brain likes to hear that hook early.
Yeah.
And it likes to hear it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So for those reasons, I would propose that you might be able to take this first one.
Just cut out that first little interlude.
And nix it and like literally just actually there's an easier way to do this. Let me see if this works. Like, so it goes, no, it doesn't even look good, so fuck it. But like you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now the question becomes, if you do that, it becomes a little abrupt.
Yeah.
To just go see what's the how does this end?
I could actually do that in Logic really quick.
Do it.
Play those two sections back to back.
Do it. Let's hear it.
Let's hear what this sounds like. There's actually an awesome trick in Logic. You can just highlight a section and bypass it. So skip it. Just by the way, if you guys
this stream brought to you by Logic and Apple Pen.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go. So here from the ooze.
But I'ma keep fighting.
Oh yeah. Sorry, that was right. Okay,
so we want to go here to there.
Totally.
But I'ma keep fighting. You'll keep riding. There ain't no other way, no. I do this every day, no. Oh, lately I've been holding.
Pause it for a second.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Now here's where this gets interesting. And Tano, tell me from the messages if people are like, what the fuck? We're in way too deep in the wormhole. But if it isn't, I think this would be fun for people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to try and combine those two sections, then the first thing that I hear in my ear is you do this little ornament at the end of no, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Which sort of runs into if you were to have the B section right there.
Yeah, I can play that real quick. Let's hear it one more time.
Bueno, I do this every day, no.
Okay, so just humor me, and if you hate this, just tell me, Pete, I hate this. But like, try muting that little ornamentation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, it's actually the ooh thing that leads into that.
Right, but
I think the ornament has plenty of space after it before going to the section.
So I see what you're saying, and I agree with you. I think okay. So what you're saying is, if we were to put the ooze in to set up the B section.
No, I'm saying to cut out the ooze, actually.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, so
let's play this, and I've muted the ooze.
Yeah.
And let's see. I think it'll flow a little bit better.
Bueno, I do this every day, no. Lately I've been holding on
like that.
Yeah. So again, I think the ornamentation.
You think it gets in the way?
Not gets in the way. I think that's too strong a phrase. Mm-hmm. But I think if you're trying to sort of bolt this down between the verse and the B section and make it really sneaky and almost like inevitable feeling, I think you want to make sure that transition is so carefully put together that people don't even notice that we just went from the B first to the B. Yeah. And I'm not sure if that ornamentation aids you in doing that, or just sort of is there. It works, but it's not something that really ties the verse into the B section like impenetrably. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was. Yeah, go ahead.
Sung to lead into the ooh part.
Totally.
So, yeah.
And another thing you could do is this sort of intro to the B section that you have. That basically sing the intro to the B section, if you could.
Oh, oh. This thing, the ooze, right?
Yep.
Oh, oh.
Yep. And then what's
Yeah.
the harmony vocals? Oh, ah, something like that.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
if
yeah.
yeah, you could use that. The thing that currently leads from the intro of the B into the B, that harmony vocal thing, not the
Mm.
melody vocal thing, but the harmony vocal thing.
Yeah.
You could use that to sort of seg into the B section the way you're doing currently. You feel me?
Hmm.
You could layer that at the end of the verse as a sort of abbreviated intro to the B.
I see. So overlap it with the verse.
Overlap it.
Mm.
Overlap it with the very, very last little slice of the verse. So it's almost like you're suggesting the intro to the B section without actually taking 4 bars to execute it.
Totally. Yeah.
And then, so again, from a songwriting perspective, do you know that puts your hook at like probably, 48 seconds or some shit, or 50 seconds?
Yeah.
That's statistically a way, way stronger version of the song for the human ear, if nothing else. And you get to what you could also do is when you come back around on this and vary it later, instead of doing, you could just do one of these instead of 2 of them.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Right. So you still get that variation and that like, oh, gotcha. But you're adding a little bit of a intro to the B section thing here to sweeten things, to build it super back up for the last cycle.
Yeah.
Right. So you're getting all the effects that Aya and you were trying to go for with the variation and having things lead and push and be different, but you're doing it with fewer words and fewer moments, fewer seconds.
Right. Totally. Yeah. That makes sense.
So again, I don't know if this was like down the rabbit hole and we lost everybody and there's nobody watching, or this was semi-interesting or somewhere in the middle. But I thought your song, I mean, this song is so, we could do this for days on all
Yeah.
sorts of shit. We could do it on the vocal production. We could do it on your rhythmic production. We could do it on everything. But this is something that anyone, regardless of their musical background, can be like, oh, okay, that's interesting. I maybe I learned something about songwriting today.
For sure.
You know what I mean? So, and again, because it's a pop song, it's different than like other genres of music where, there's a little bit more of an aesthetic and a subjective sense of things. There is in pop music also, but there's kind of like a, there's some I don't want to say standards, but there's some sort of principles that have proven themselves to at least be relevant in looking at pop writing.
Right. Yeah.
That I think are any good pop writer at least is aware of them, even if they're breaking them all the time and bending them all the time.
Yeah. Totally.
So I hopefully if nothing else, you guys can go back and listen to this song. And what I forgot to do actually was, so what I can do is I can record this and then it'll record it writing. I forgot to do it, but then I'll do it. If you guys are interested, I will do it and send it to you off the stream, and I'll write it in real time as the song is playing in the background so that you guys can see me writing it, if that's interesting and valuable. If not, we don't have to do it. But yeah, again, there's so many things we could talk about, but what I want to do is get back on the stream, honestly, and like kind of see what people are talking about and interested in, and how that worked.
Cool.
So is anybody commenting on things they'd like to know about your song that we could chime in on?
Rizzieri says, do you think to add a C part, or could no necessary?
If I'm understanding your question correctly, Riz, I don't think it's necessary. I think in my view, it's obviously your song, but my view would be, part of what makes this song so great is that it's in and out. It says what it needs to say, and it's simple and it's punchy. And I don't feel like it necessarily needs a lot of sometimes songs feel like they need what amounts to a bridge. They need some third
Yeah.
section that at the end of it, so that everything doesn't sound so sort of like, blah, 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 done. But in this case, I think you've got enough going on lyrically, melodically, rhythmically, everything that I don't feel like it needs it. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, I think this song is carried by the production and the beat.
Yep.
And I think because of that, it doesn't need another section with a different melody and different lyrics. I think there's enough melodic variety and enough lyrics going on, like you said, that it fills up the time and keeps. I think and I hope that it would keep the listener's attention. I don't think it needs another part to vary it too much,
For sure.
Again, if this were a simpler arrangement, singer-songwriter type track, then yeah, I think you would need more melodic content. But because it's more of a, it's about the groove of the song as much as the vocals.
For sure. Hey, we have 8 viewers, as far as I can tell, which means we didn't scare anybody off. Or if we did, some people jumped in. No, everybody's still hanging. Like, that was like, I don't know if this is going to be terrible. So you guys need to be straight with me right now. Be honest with me right now. Like, 1 out of 10, was that like, what did you like about what we just did? And obviously, don't give me shit about the production value of that shit, because it was ridiculous. But as a concept, is that something that we want to do more of? Was that fun, or was that like, yo, we don't necessarily need that stuff right now? Because if you don't tell me, then the mad professor is just going to decide what to do, and Tori and I are going to go off in a whole bunch of crazy directions.
I think as a concept is great.
Cool. What do you think, Tano? Like, what could we do with that idea? What's going on, Charlie? That you would find interesting if we were to do these kinds of things more in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are people who are interested in songwriting and arranging. I think like walking through the arrangement live as the music is playing is a really cool idea. I think that can be really useful to people who are interested in expanding their knowledge about songwriting.
For sure. Yeah, I agree. I think it's also a nice compliment for people that are learning about live streaming and stuff. It's good to see everybody that's in here, man. So as a producer, who else are some artists or producers that you admire specifically about or because of their arrangement? Besides, who did you say before?
Ryan Tedder.
Ryan Tedder, thank you.
Yeah. As a producer, I really love Ian Kirkpatrick. Super badass, producing the Dua Lipa stuff. Arrangements also are just awesome in that music. So he's definitely the producer that I'm watching right now. Also, Louis Bell.
Who's Louis Bell?
He's producing Post Malone along with a lot of other people.
Gotcha. So Tori was asking, what about Ryan's stuff can you comment on anything specifically that you like about what he's doing?
I love how he's involved in so many things. I just love how multifaceted his career is.
Yep.
And that's because, as we were talking about earlier, I have so many interests and like to do a lot of things, and seeing someone do that at such a high level of success is inspiring, because I feel like a lot of people you see, they're hugely successful, but they do one thing, namely when you're looking at really famous, successful artists, it's like, yeah, they're huge, but they're just doing one thing all the time. It seems that they're they're writing songs or co-writing songs and singing them and performing them, and that's their thing.
Right.
They're doing
Right.
that amazingly. But Ryan Tedder is doing that and writing for other people and executive producing for other people and has his TV show, and he's like doing a lot of things that I want to do in my career.
For sure. Shiko, thank you very much for your interest in having your songs reviewed. Absolutely. We'd love to hear your stuff. And like Tori said, if you want to just drop it in our Discord and tell us a little bit about yourself, and maybe if you have a website or anything like that, I'm all about it. So yeah, I see what you're saying. Like there's a certain variety, and it's like he can do anything. So it sounds like you like being able to do lots of different things and not be sort of pigeonholed into, wearing just one hat in the music, the music thing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely something I hope to keep throughout my career, is to not be narrowed into one corner.
So so wrapping this back to sort of live streaming, and we're already at 11:39, which is like awesome. Where do you see, just as a creative professional, what's interesting to you about live streaming? Like, oh, I could see doing, we talked about you doing a performance maybe as part of a festival, but also like, do you see wanting to, I don't know, do a live, production with people? Do you see, wanting to collaborate with a DJ on a live stream? Do you just see it as something that allows you to perform and connect with an audience in a different way? Like, is there anything that that you see as kind of all these different sort of tools in your toolkit? Okay, where does live streaming potentially fit in the next like 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I have actually been thinking more about doing some sort of live stream mixing production session, and like sharing my screen and just showing my workflow. I'm not really sure. I haven't really planned it, the details of that, or what exactly that would look like and what I would show, and how long it would be. We were talking last week about, you were mentioning sort of having these long form live streams where it just kind of goes for hours and it doesn't matter that there's lag time. I guess I'm unsure whether it would be something like that, where it's just, I just stream myself in my studio for hours working, and sometimes it's interesting and sometimes it's really boring, or whether I'd want to do like a 1 hour like session where I'm, talking and informing people and walking through a session, showing how I do things. What
do you guys think? The ones of you that are watching, would you rather know that, cats like Tano are like regularly going on and just basically producing with a camera on them? Or would you rather have people like Tano come on and be like, okay, for the next hour, I'm going to show you how to tune vocals the way I tune them, and have it more instructional and very to the point? I've seen both. I mean, what would you guys find more interesting? To me, I feel like the second one. Okay. Interesting. So we have a vote for each one. Tori's like, I would love to just see your process. And Yuma's like, I want to see like how you do shit. So what else do we have? Yeah, I could see that, Yuma. Okay, so then Unknown's like, yo, I'd like to just see like you working. So we have 2 for, I'd love to just sort of be a fly on the wall. Let's do both. Tori's like, booked. I've seen, have you seen artists and producers on Twitch do this? Have you seen this stuff, Tano? Have you ever seen like gone on these channels?
Yeah. Do you know RAC?
No, I don't think so.
So RAC, I guess it stands for Remix Artist Collective.
Cool.
And it used to be a collective, but now it's just this one dude. basically it's his solo project. And he did a stream on Twitch that was like basically like going through his album, his most recent album. So he like went through he produces in Ableton, so he like went through the Ableton session of each track and like kind of just broke it down and soloed stuff and basically showed how the song was built. Yeah, I watched a little bit of that.
Yeah, you guys are right. Kenny Beats does some of that. Sherry Hugh had mentioned a couple people that I checked out after she told me, and I was pretty blown away. I feel like all of them were female artists / producers, vocalists, very talented, had a pretty massive following on Twitch. And you could just go on and watch them. And they were pretty, I don't want to use the word entertaining, but like, because it was more than that. It was like pretty fascinating to watch, even though they're just doing their thing. But I think they knew how to kind of say like, let's try it like this. And hearing them track vocals, I think, is fun for people. Particularly, like to hear like, wow, that sounds pretty good first take, or, oh, I can see how that kind of like she tuned that up a little bit, that kind of stuff. I think people like to hear that. They like to see the sort of beautiful imperfections.
Right.
And watching someone that's quite good at what they do, just in their element, doing it, I think for people is inspiring. I think it's informative. It's just fun to watch. And again, you can do it while you're doing other shit and just kind of pop in and out.
Yeah.
You guys agree? But yeah, I think either one of those would be great for you. And I think it'd be fun, like as you're experimenting with this stuff, like bring us along for the ride. If you're trying something and you want us to let people know about it, or if you're, learning things and you want to talk about them. I think one of the, I always have this moment where I'm like, what I love about live streaming is that it's like, and another thing in that category is that this sort of barrier between like, well, I'm an artist, I'm a producer, and I do all these, and I know all these things, and this is what my life is like. And then there's the audience and the fans and the people that are like, oh, I really admire that person's work. And there's always this some sort of boundary between those two. There's a boundary of knowledge and experience and expertise, and there's a boundary of like, how does that work? And there's even a boundary of interaction. Like you don't get to see Ryan Tedder that often. You don't get to ask him or even watch over his shoulder while he's doing something.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be practical. In fact, most recording studios, do they want video in a commercial recording studio?
Probably not.
Never. No major recording studio I've ever been in really wants its privacy and secrecy, and don't tell anyone that so-and-so's here because no one can know about the record.
Yeah.
And blah, 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 blah. And that's okay. I mean, that's fair. And that protects the artist's process and all that stuff. But what I'm seeing happening is flying right in the face of that. And I think, I don't know if this is true or not, but I have a feeling, I have a hypothesis that a year from now, the idea that you have this secret cave that you go into with a magic box and nobody knows what's going on in there, and then all of a sudden a record comes out, it is going to be less exciting and less market friendly and less effective for that artist and that release than some form of like, oh shit, there he is. Wow, they're doing the dance moves right now for the tour. Oh shit. Like a little bit of that, I think, will become the norm, when right now the norm is hush hush, nobody gets to hear anything, right?
Yeah.
So I think getting into that ahead of time and finding your own way to do that with the people that like you and want to learn from you and are into your music, I think is smart.
Cool. Yeah.
And anything you figure out, you got to let us know.
I will, for sure. I'll let you know if and when I decide to do anything like that.
Do you want to show us anything before you hop off? Do you want to show us anything on the vocal stuff that you were doing in your session? Like, you were mentioning some things that you're doing that are pretty awesome about your vocal production, and I agree. Do you want to show anybody like, yeah, this is what I was doing?
Sure, why not? So Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see the screen so well. Should I bring the camera closer?
I can see it fairly well, and I'm on an iPhone.
I could bring. Well, okay.
I can see like basically more or less what's going on the screen. We can't see like.
Yeah, I'll make
really
the tracks real big.
Yeah,
so you can
that's a little better.
Okay,
that's fine. That works.
So this is the lead vocal track. Let me just solo it real quick.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff going on, underneath it that you
Tori,
might.
that's fine if you got to do your work stuff.
So
totally fine.
I'm gonna play this.
I see you on the way down, looking for a way out. I'm telling you it's hopeless if you didn't notice.
Okay. So then I think I got this idea from watching a Charlie Puth video where he was walking through one of his tracks and he does this. I recorded 2 whisper tracks where I'm whispering those lyrics and pan them on either side. So I'll solo those so you can hear this. Check it out.
I see you on the way down.
It's creepy, huh?
Looking for a way out.
Okay, so now listen to them together.
I love that.
It gives the lead vocal kind of just a crisper sound. Now here's them together.
I see you on the way down, looking for a way out. I knew it's hopeless if you didn't notice, but I'ma keep fighting.
So there.
Yeah, that's sick.
Yeah, and then second half of the verse, I bring in the low octave. So
if you didn't notice,
here it comes.
But I'ma keep fighting. You'll keep it riding. There ain't no other way, no. I do this every day, no. Oh.
Yeah, and I have this ping pong delay going, so the echo.
Which you actually hear quite clearly when the drop happens.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of
you can hear like exactly how it rolls.
Right. So then the oohs, I have that lead ooh track that you heard, but then I have these backgrounds that we talked about before. And I have a bit crusher on those, so they have this like fuzz distortion going on, which I really like to do on background vocals to sort of like grit them up a bit.
Tori loves this stuff.
And then chorus vocals, I got whisper track again, and then falsetto octave.
Lately I've been holding
three
on a thread so thin. Where do I begin? It feels like I can barely take.
And then I want to show these claps because I really like the way.
That's the very last time. That's the second.
No, this is the first chorus.
Got it.
It feels like I can barely take another step. I'm just trying to.
So then I also 3 octaves there if I bring in the lead.
I'm just trying to live my dream.
You got a great head voice, man.
Thanks.
That couldn't have been you. That couldn't have been you.
Yeah, that definitely took a few takes to hit that high note in the falsetto. And then one thing I had a lot of fun with is I sampled my own voice. So on that chorus, I'm just trying to live my dream, I cut up all those different words and mapped it to a MIDI keyboard. And so I could.
I'm just trying to live my.
Yeah, and I could play them, and the Logic has a sampler that automatically pitches the samples. So
It
now,
now does. It now does.
but even before,
Yeah, that's true. Even before, it was just clunkier.
24 had that
Yeah,
kind of
yeah. You're right. You're right.
as smart as it is now. Now it's even better.
Yep.
So these are all the vocal chopped. I'm gonna solo these. Here we go. So this is like basically chords. First, just this one. So that's just me playing a chord with the word dream, you know?
Yep.
And then there's these kind of other melodies going on.
I'm just trying to live my dream.
And there's a lot of syncopation going on there, like all these kind of like. I kind of like took that from like. I almost played it like I was playing a clavinet, you know, like a Stevie Wonder Superstition, the way it's kind of exactly,
yeah.
So that's kind of what I was going for there. And then second verse is pretty much the same as the first verse, except that I have the low octave sort of coming in and out here.
Are you guys loving this? Give Tano some love, man. This shit is. I know you guys are like taking notes right now.
But nothing ever goes on if no one's gonna listen. Then what's the point of living on if I ever...
And then also what I like in the second verse, I have this sort of lead guitar like solo going on. And I love when I can put in little guitar solos because I love noodling on guitar, but I don't ever really get to play guitar. So here's...
Nothing ever goes on if no one's gonna listen. Then what's the point of living on if I ever make it? I'm always gonna stay lit, cause I don't want you.
Yeah. That kind of thing. And then the I'm just trying to part comes in. And that also has a lot of layers and whispers, and it's kind of a fuzzy sound. Check this out.
I'm just trying to live my dream. My dream. I'm just trying to live my dream.
And harmonies in there.
My dream.
And then second chorus with the ad-lib.
Lately I've been holding on a thread so thin. Where do I begin? It feels like I can barely take another step. I'm just trying to live my dream.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the vocals.
What are the you have certain plugins or kind of techniques that you're doing that you're using a lot to do this stuff?
Basically, my vocal chain consists of, I don't know if you can see these plugins. I can bring them up really big. I have a UAD Neve channel strip.
So everything's virtual.
Yeah.
Except your interface.
Right. I recorded this song before I got my actual analog Neve preamp. That's right here. So I just ran it through this Neve emulation.
Yep.
Then I have a Waves de-esser. I like to put the de-esser first after any preamp emulations to cut the S's before I do any EQing. So it's actually, because if you EQ a vocal first, you're generally going to want to boost the highs to make it sound nice and bright. And then it
becomes too crispy with.
Yeah. So I'm de-essing quite a bit to tame the S's. Then we just got a standard Logic EQ. As you can probably see here a little bit. I'm cutting lows, boosting highs, kind of a shallow but pretty standard vocal EQ. And then a LA2A compressor.
Yep.
The opto compressor. UAD also. just getting like, I usually shoot for around like 5 to 7 dB of gain reduction. Let's see.
Lately, I've been holding on.
And that's it. And then obviously sending to both a reverb and a ping pong delay.
I like that vocal fry you do when you set when you set up the hooks.
Yeah.
I can't really do it, but it's sort of like it. You guys hear? You play that again, just the fry part.
Lately.
Yeah. Did you must have studied voice, man? Like, did you study voice at Berkeley?
I didn't actually. I've never studied voice.
Really?
I wish I did, and I still want to actually, because I feel like I don't. Like, I get tired quick singing, you know, and if I studied voice, I would have better endurance. Like, there's a certain point where I'm recording or playing live where, like, especially playing live, when after like an hour set, like I can't sing any more than that. You know, I think I probably don't have the most healthy technique singing, so I'm tiring out my voice too quick, you know? So actually, that is the reason I wish I did study voice, but I never have. Maybe I will.
Did you ever study like arranging, vocal arranging? Did you ever have like a class in vocal arranging?
No, not vocal arranging. I mean, I went through the Berkeley has a required, you know, arranging classes, like
that includes some vocal elements to it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, mostly that was honestly like a lot of the arranging we did was not really in the pop style. We were learning about more traditional jazz and Latin jazz type styles. We got into pop music a little bit. But honestly, listening to pop music is just trying to emulate my favorite pop songs in terms of vocal arranging. That's kind of how I got here doing that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Completely. So do you guys have any final questions or comments for Tano? Dude, I got to say, like, thank you for going through that exercise and letting us sort of like dissect this awesome song of yours.
No worries. Thank you.
I hope that was fun and
super fun.
And not like, oh my God, what's going on? This is like my precious song, dude. Don't like pick it apart.
No, not at all. I enjoy talking about this kind of stuff.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh no, we're trending in music. Tori's like, we're trending in music again. We're trending in music again. We're trending in music because you guys are on here and have been on here and are regulars. Unknown, thank you for being on again. Good to see you again. Yuma's like, he's super loyal. Ugona, good seeing you. How are things going with the live streaming thing with Guillermo? Aya, good to see you. Gonna be roping you in here in a couple of weeks. Aya has a record coming out soon. Are you? Good to see you as well. Hope you guys are enjoying everything. Oh, you didn't start yet? Okay. So Ugona is working with Guillermo, who I think you saw some of his earlier videos. Yeah. So yeah, man, this is so much fun for us. Tori and I look forward to this. It's a lot of work putting these together, sort of behind the scenes, but we super love doing this, and obviously we love seeing you guys and you know, like covering things that are interesting to you. So I think we're going to do more of these. They're going to probably, thanks so much, Llama. It's weird that as soon as you did that, you were in my brain. Like that moment, I'm like, we're going to do more of these. And I'm thinking Llama's going to be here, I think next week or week after on Friday. And then you're like, yep, I'm going to be here. And I'm like, fuck, get out of my brain. How did you do that? So we're going to do more of these. And I think it's great for the person that's talking about their song. I think it's great for the whole crew to learn and be able to just kind of like have have a process that we can all kind of share. Thank you so much, Tano, for being on twice, making our stream blow up, teaching us a lot, and then you know, showing us how the music's done. And we crashed it. I think this is the first time we've ever crashed it, like during a stream. So I feel really good about that. I like breaking shit every once in a while because it feels like if you're not if we do like a dozen of these and like we don't hit a wall or something breaks, it's not. We're not doing it right. We're not doing it right. So I know that was like super lo-fi and a little bit semi-ridiculous, but I wanted to try this with having like if that's something that's interesting, we'll do more of that, and I'll have ways that we can. Maybe we don't have to do it live during the song. Maybe we can do it like pre-done. But I think having something visual alone, having something that's written out that kind of sketches what a song looks like for somebody is a really valuable thing when you're talking about a song, and helping people know, you know, different sections of the song, blah, 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 blah. Yes. Thank you, Tori. Please check out Tano, among his many other talents, also has a very instructional YouTube channel that you guys should all subscribe to. He's got really, really good content, and I'm sure you're probably are you thinking about doing anything else coming up that you're going to add to that?
Yeah, actually, I spent let me grab the camera for a second. I spent the past couple days building more acoustic panels. And
you've been building them?
Yeah.
Nice.
This studio has been a construction site.
Oh yeah.
So I can show you here. I just built these floor to ceiling bass traps.
Yep.
And all around me, either side, corner bass traps, first reflection points, and now I have behind me these portable gobos. So basically,
it's like you're surrounded.
Yeah, I basically just up the absorption in my studio to get better bass response when I'm mixing. So I'm thinking about doing a video about how I made them.
You completely should. You guys, do you think? Yeah, dude, this guy, Unknown's like, this guy's a multi-talented wonder.
Yeah, I like constructing things. Like building things from scratch to me is way more, well, it's more affordable and more rewarding. I mean, because like I spent $200 on materials for these panels. Like it's buying big bags of Rockwool insulation and then all the wood fabric.
Yep.
And if you buy,
and it looks good. It looks good.
Thanks. My one complaint, and I might open them up and fix it, but I didn't get the fabric taut enough, so there's some wrinkles. I mean, it's just an aesthetic issue.
Yeah,
they were
for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I spent like $200 on materials, and if you buy,
how many did you make? Like it looks like you made about 8.
9, yeah.
How many? 9, yeah.
And
badass. DIY.
If you buy these panels, they cost like $100 per panel. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You should definitely do a. Guys, should he do a live stream on how the hell to do that? Because normally you would have spent, what's 9 times 2? You would have spent $1,800.
No, I would have spent like maybe $1,000.
You said there's 200 each.
I said maybe about $100 each.
Oh, $100 each. So it would have been about $900. Unknown's loving that idea, man.
Yeah.
We should totally do it. You should totally do it, and we will promote it.
Awesome.
To our crew. So Tano, thank you so much for your time again. Enjoy your weekend, and please don't be a stranger. Come on anytime. And if I can help you with anything on my end with stuff, don't hesitate, man.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Llama, always nice to see you again. Looking forward to having you on very, very soon. And everybody else, thank you for popping in. Ugona, Aya, Yuma, as always. I know we've been batting emails back and forth, and like it's just been batty the last week or so. But I'll definitely follow up with you on some stuff that we were talking about. So thank you guys again. Thank you, Dan, for like all the love that he's given us from day one. And love all you guys. I hope you guys have a fantastic, healthy, creative weekend. And thank you for being a part of this. This wouldn't mean anything or be fun at all if you guys weren't here with us. And any ideas you have, anything that you'd like to see more of, please let us know. Live on Live gang. That's it, man. Let us know what you guys are digging, and we can lead into that stuff. So for the moment, be good, be well, and we'll see you in a few.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, Tano. Thanks so much, man. We'll see you soon.
See you soon.